Hello everyone, Kenty Tiger here with Bengali Engineering and Play. We are back in Space Engineers. We're continuing on in the Survival Series 2. We kind of abandoned the large space station, the silly, ridiculously large space station, and we started into building what I think will be a much more practical station.
No energy.
Oh, no energy. Oh well. The good news is I can fix that. I can fix that right here. One of the things I've done, modifications. So once I kind of decided what am I going to do as far as power, supplies, containers, all that sort of thing, once I decided, okay, yes, I am going to go ahead and use um, the Kenti blocks, then I went ahead and swapped some stuff out. So now all the batteries on the station here are Kenti batteries. I swapped out these two reactors with Kenti reactors, so now we have a decent amount of power. I swapped out the regular oxygen generators, or rather gas generators, for the Kenti super gas generators, and I swapped all of the oxygen cylinders on the station for the Kenti overpowered ones, and also added in I don't do modeling, so one of these days I will figure out how I can change this thing from saying oxygen and this saying oxygen to hydrogen. So one of these days I'll figure that out, and then I'll change those models. But until I know how to do that, then I'm stuck with what I got. So basically, with all that said, I'm going to convert. I actually have a lot of space right here to do some stuff, and indeed there's more space down here. So what I was thinking I would do is go ahead and add in the both the there's actually a lot of space down here, even though this is all glass and everything. So the first thing I want to add in here is the system. Let me go ahead and bring that up. Paycast builds a really neat, nifty thing called a cargo teleporter. Okay, I don't think I need elevators. I think the elevators are all done. Cargo container. And I think I can get rid of those. So the bottom line here is my standard configuration here is a elsewhere container. I'm going to go ahead and change the color to this, which is so this container is ultimately going to be the intercept container for the cargo teleporter, which is this unit here, and I need to flip that around the other way. Let's go there. Okay, so the cargo teleporter is designed, it uses the regular station antennas, any antennas at the limits of their capacity, which is 50 kilometers, to receive cargo. So cargo teleporter, Paycast no longer, I want to say no longer supporting, but the reality is they are. They have on several occasions fixed this when it is no longer working. So as you work with mods over the course of time, you come up with kind of, dare I call it, a standard configuration. So in this case, the cargo teleporters are a dual configured system. And what do I mean by that? Well, I need a cargo transmitter on one end and a cargo receiver. Now they actually work kind of in conjunction with one another, which makes sense, but actually it's more important to understand the cargo container that is actually associated with these two. So there's a cargo container on the, in this case, miners, that is transmitting um, to this receiver. So from and to. So if we consider this one as the F, this is the from. So I am teleporting from a cargo container called cargo transmit, which happens to be located on, in this case, a miner. So that was the idea, but it could be anything. It could be any kind of cargo as long as it's using this particular convention. So let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and transfer everything to me, which should be the two things I just added in here, and then we'll go back down here and see what it is. So here we have the cargo transmit. So this is already set up from container called cargo transmit, which is out there on the miner in this case. And then we have a elsewhere container here. And this is literally the input container receiver. Okay, so this, yeah, I totally can't spell. R-E-C-E-I-V-E-R. I before C except after, I before E except after C, except when the sound is like E. If you remember your grammar, your little grammar limericks. So, elsewhere receiver, which is the counterpart to the transmitter on the other end. So the transmitter on the other end says cargo teleporter, and then it's a brace, or bracket rather, T for to, and then elsewhere receiver. So that is, the idea is transmitting to this. Now, the other idea here is that this is on the pull-in side, and I wanted it that way on purpose, because on the pull-in side it's actually going to be using this to pull everything in. And I think I'm going to do the pull-in system down here just because. So the pull-in system is pretty simple. I don't think that I need anything. So what we're going to do is do a, we'll go into Kenti blocks here, and we'll actually use in a Kenti sorter. And the reason I want to use the Kenti sorter over the main, the vanilla sorter, is the capacity. So the vanilla sorter really is extremely slow because it has a capacity of 1,000 liters. So if you're on 3x inventory, then it's 3,000 liters. If you're on 10x inventory, then it's 10,000 liters. But either way, it's very, very limited. So that's 3,000 liters per second, to give you an idea. So let me spin this over. This is actually going to be the pull-in sorter, and it's pulling in through here, but this is all interconnected. So what I want to make sure here is that I've got this thing really facing the right way, which I think I do. So this whole junction interconnects via these three conveyor junctions here, which ultimately the conveyor junctions are coming into here. I'm a little backwards, and I could come out, you know, through one of these and use it, but ultimately it really doesn't matter where I'm coming in via. So this is the pull-in. So I'm going to rename this sorter as this is the pull-in sorter. Ultimately, it is blacklist nothing, which really means allow everything. Okay. So this is ultimately going to be a drain all type of a thing. But here's what we want to do. And this is going to be a little bit overkill. And originally I was going to do 4. I'm going to do it this way. The reason I'm going to do it this way is and because I've already been using these guys, I'm going to continue using these guys. And the reason I'm doing this particular maneuver here so sorters have a unique problem. The problem is that we can sorters will push, pull, however you want to look at it, into the closest available container. But it will not push through containers even if the containers are connected on the other side. So what I've done here is created a conveyor system which directly connects both containers. So if, inconceivable though it might be, the containers ever fill up, now I don't see how that's even remotely possible, but in case they ever were to fill up. So this is pull in 01, and then this one will be pull in 02. Currently, right now, yes, I'm aware that that there's a lot of things that are currently set up as nobody. All right, so here's what we will do next. Okay, and the sorter is drain all, and it is indeed draining everything. Okay, so I don't just want it to do that. All right, one of the things that we ultimately need to do is push into the containers that are up here. So one of the things I wanted to do is make sure this is empty, which it is. Oh, sorry, don't know that yet, which it is. So here's what we're going to do, and this is where things get a little bit silly. We're going to leave this here. But we're going to remove this thing. So let me go ahead and get main storage going here, and here's what we're going to do. We're going to, that's a reactor. We don't want a reactor, we want a container. Now, do we really need 6 containers? And the answer is probably no. Probably not. Sorry, one of the things I want to look and see here is which side is what. This is just my own personal OCD thing here. This is lock 3. Okay, so this side over here is the number 1 side, which will let me put in so what I want to do is face this that way. Now, what I'm going to do is put in 6 containers. Now, do we need 6 containers? No. 6 containers is absolutely ridiculous, but it will give me a means that will allow me to. Okay, no, that's all right. It will give me a means by which I can move materials around pretty much with infinite flexibility. So let's go ahead and jump into these guys here. Actually, let me do one more thing here. We need a sorter, which is ultimately going to pull off. That's coming in under. So what we're going to do is put a sorter. Alright, this is here. And we can. I'm going to go ahead and put the sorter here. So what we're going to do is change this into a T as well. Change that colors again. We'll do a okay. So what we did here is we created an H pattern, right? So this sorter can push into these 2 containers. This sorter will be able to pull out of each of these containers without actually pulling through the containers. That doesn't matter. What matters is this sorter can push into both containers using the connected conveyor system. It will only stop working as if this fills up and cannot push into this one. So now we've eliminated that problem. May not be a problem anymore, but used to be a problem. So we'll go back to number 8. Pull up number 7. We'll spin this over. I'm gonna drop down just a hair so I can see. So the do I want to do that? Okay. I'm gonna move. I'm gonna delete that one. So I need to spin this over, and the reason is if you look at the control panel, which is now directly, it's to the left face, and I want to move it to the right face. And then we're going to turn this over because this is pulling out, and we will reconfigure. So this is actually the pull-in for the main supply. Okay, so let's reconfigure here. The reason I did this is that this control panel would not be as readily accessible on the side there. So even though I'm, tearing something apart and rebuilding, so this is the pull-in conveyor again. It is blacklist nothing, which means pull in everything and drain all. Then we go to this one, which is actually the idea behind this sorter is this is main supply sort. What does that mean? We are whitelisting, and we are pulling all of the major stuff, like all the stuff that's done, right, is ammo, components, hand tools, and ingots. And in this case, we're also going to add on ice. The reason I add on ice is because ice is considered to be an ore. I do not want to pull ore through because I want to be able to process that somewhere. So, ice. Now, I could add hydrogen bottles and oxygen bottles. They are technically hand tools, so there used to be a little bit of a problem with sorting. Even if you had hand tools, it wouldn't allow those to pull through, and I don't know if that's still the case or not. It may or may not be. So we're going to go ahead and try it here. don't think it will be a problem, but we will ultimately try it. Alright, so now that this is set up, we're going to go ahead and do a drain all. So whitelist, drain all, whitelist meaning we're only going to allow these items through. Now, ultimately, because a sorter is a sorter, the problems again with sorting are that we if a container fills up on the output side of a sorter, the sorter stops because it can't push through a container. It can only go to the container that's directly connected. So normally what I like to do is create headers that will allow for basically multiple containers to be attached into a sorting type of an environment. We're going to do that here, and we're going to do that by the use of these guys, which are already being used. So one of the things I don't like to add too many mods. It just seems if I really add too many, then it just seems like I'm I don't know. I don't like adding too many mods. So where to connect this guy in? This is parallel to this, so I should be able to walk under. So what I'm going to do in this case is go ahead and put the one here, and this is going to be an edge connector, or rather an edge. Okay, so I need to put that. There we go. Put that up on end. So this is a T with a piece out the bottom. So my goal here, I'm going to come out, around, and down. So in this case, I can now, it's a direct connect, so I'm going to shift back over to the vanilla, which is an out, an over, and then down. And this one is in. Oh, one more. So what this is the sorter, which is going to pull all the finished products out, whatever they happen to be, and shunt them up here with this header here. It's going to be able to put into any of these 6 containers. Now we have not renamed the 6 containers yet, which we'll do next. The reason why I wanted to get that part done is so I can do a single claim here. So we'll go ahead and unhide everything, Control A, over to me, yes, and then hide everything again. At the bottom here we should see all this new stuff, which is all these new containers. So one of the things I'm going to do is go outside. So right now I have a lot of, not a lot, but a couple of I have to find it. Here, where it is? Where is it? There it is. this thing here. Gonna go ahead and fill up while I'm here. The build and repair system should be on, and it should be close enough to dismantle this, and I'm not sure exactly why it is not. So one of the things I've noticed is that these might be just a few things off. There we go. And the reason I'm doing this is I want to get rid of these things so they're no longer in the inventory. So this thing undoubtedly has a whole lot of stuff. The build and repair system is, yep, so is currently removing all of this stuff. All right, so all done with the removal of all of that, which is what we wanted. And the biggest reason why I wanted all that to be removed is that way I wouldn't actually have to worry about where everything is coming from. And as we get into all these different containers, you notice that all of my mysterious Kenti stuff has disappeared. So this actually is container main supply 01, which because that was the first one I built, which was on the bottom, is what this is. So we're going to do a Control C, and we're going to go on down the list here. Control C, that's a 2. Control C, 3. Control C. Try it again. There we go. This is a 4. Number 5 and number 6. So these are my main supply containers. These then are my pull-in containers. The main supply is supplied from the pull-in. Now, one of the other things that we have to do here, and we're also going to do that down here at the bottom, is basically create the refineries. Refineries are a really good thing. So what I want to do is put refineries in here that will be able to pull materials out and then refine them. So this will be all the cargo, the ore and that sort of thing. And in this case, I'm going to use Kenti refineries. So I have a specialized set of refineries that, let me try that again. We'll go back over to this intermediate color here. And so there's element extractors, and the downside to the element extractor is, so the element extractor takes gravel and removes trace elements. So the advantage to the trace element extractor is that it gets rid of it. It actually gives you a reason to maintain stone. Now the downside is it takes all of your gravel, so it's kind of a two-step process. all the stone comes in. The element extractor, or rather, the refineries take all that stone and turn it into gravel. The gravel then goes into the element extractor and is processed into these trace elements, also destroying the gravel. So it basically gives you a use for all of this gravel, which may or may not be useful to everything that you're doing. So in this case, we have to figure out what all do we want to do in terms of refining and extracting. Do I want to do refining, extracting, that sort of thing, or do I want to pull everything out? So right now we do not have any methodology for pulling any of the ore out and doing anything with it. So what I want to do in this case is actually have the refineries set up so they interconnect with these two containers, because this sorter will pull everything out, including ingots. Now the downside here, if I put an extractor in this, is we will end up with gravel being pulled through, because gravel is considered to be ingots. So that's the only downside to any of this process. So what I'm going to do is put it says so there should have been 5 of these, and I'm not sure why they started up. There was really no reason to start them yet. So they're only connected in to these things. Okay, so let me do one more thing here. We will once again do the transfer to me. Not sure why these guys started up. There was nothing going on. Alright, so this is the Kenti Mega Mini Refinery. So it's just Refinery 01. Two, 3, 4, and 5. And I'm really curious. Okay, they're not doing anything. I hear the noise. And these are going to be called production refinery. And then we're going to toolbar off and terminal off. So production refinery. Now the only other thing potentially that I could do is put in extractors, and I kind of would like to do extractors, because then you take all of that stone and gravel and actually do something with it. Now the downside to that is that I lose my ability to store any kind of gravel, and you do actually need gravel for a few things. So as much as I want the extractors, I'm going to, for the moment, turn them off. So let's go ahead and I'm going to change colors over to my convention is to make those white, and I'm going to, so this is the element extractor. So number 1 and number 2. So we're going to do the same thing here, take possession of them, yes, and we're going to rename these guys So these are extractors. So this is the KMM extractor. This happens to be 01. And then this is the KMM extractor 02. So likewise, as we did before, production extractors. And obviously, I cannot spell extractors. In this case, we're going to right now turn those off. So here's one of the other things that is important for note. Actually, I have to figure out how to do. So I'm going to cheat a little bit here. First off, we're going to put in another, let me go ahead and change the color of this. And what I want to do is, I think that is in there correctly. Yeah. Okay, so this is off the, is this off? That would be off the bottom there. Okay, let me change this out. I goofed. Okay, add that back in. We're actually going to come off of this one. So we're going to change really liked that one there, but let's go ahead and look. I want to see where that's coming off because I don't it doesn't really matter that much. So we have this one coming over, and then yeah, just to make this easier, I'm going to go ahead and do this. So back over to 4, 6, we'll put that one back in as intended. And then we put another sorter, so a Kenti sorter right here. We're going to spin that over. The only thing I want to make sure is that I have my control panels in the right place. So we'll go ahead and put that on the front because I don't think anything else is going to be here. What is this doing for us? Why do we have a sorter going one way and then ultimately have a sorter going the other way? I think I can describe that best with the pictures is 1,000 words. So this is an OR so what does OR cross connect mean? OR cross connect means back to our philosophy here of what the sorting system does is I need to have a way to move materials around between all the different independent conveyor systems. So pull in, what does it do? Pulls in everything. Then I want to redistribute those finished products into the main supply system. The main supply system, the green conveyor system, is an unfettered access in and out of main storage. So I should be able to access that anywhere. Now, the problem, if it's a problem, is that I could potentially land a miner and the miner is wanting ice, the miner is wanting fuel. So they land on the green, they hook up, they dump all their ore because that's what miners do, pull in fuel, which is to say uranium ingots, pull in ice so they can breathe, and then off they go. So they do one connection and that's it. So normally that's not a problem. Ice is there, uranium ingots are there. That's what they're there for. Whatever supplies they might need, blah blah blah, it's all there. But here's our problem, is that we do all the processing. In this case, all of our refining and everything happens on the pull-in side. So the problem is I've got this sorter that takes all the finished products and dumps it into main storage, the green side. So how do I get that ore from the green side back over to the pull-in side where it's going to get processed? And the only way to do that is to use this kind of a method. And in this case, we are whitelisting ore. Now, here's the downside. The downside of this particular connection point. Yeah, I can't do this. I wanted to do this really, really badly, but I can't. And the reason I can't is because I need a nice blocker in here. So let's all right. So unfortunately, gotta nuke that, and gotta nuke that, and that. And I'll show you why I'm doing that. So let me, we're gonna put in the elbow. So basically we've just restored the system as it was. So nothing going on there. We'll go ahead and in this case, normally I would create a header for this. In this case, I think I'm going to create that's this color, which will allow me to pull in. I'm going to change over to these guys because I want to be able to do my connections. Okay, so I need 2 sorters. Okay, I need a. How can I do that? Okay, I'm gonna have to change again, and here's what we're gonna do. That is a window. Positioned the same. I think it is. So let me change to fix. Yeah, it looks like it's the same. All right. So what we're going to have to do in this case is let's do my color here again. So this is a corner, which is going to go there, and then we will put an elbow here, which I think connects in. Yes, it does. All right, and in this case, we have to do something similar here. So this is the sorter that pushes everything up. So by the same token, this is the header between the two cargo sets. So this is the, I'll call it the up, the main sort in. Then we need to have a way to pull the ore backwards through, which unfortunately is two sorters because I can't whitelist and blacklist in the sorter at the same time. So here's what we're going to do. We have a 5. Let me go ahead and change colors again because this assembly really is about, okay, so we have this. This is going to actually be a T, and I just want to make sure, so we have up, down, and sideways, right? And we're going to have, change colors again to this color. We're going to use the vanilla, provided we can actually get on the right thing. And we're going to have two sorters in a row. Let me show you what these sorters are actually going to look like. We're going to leave them, actually now I will shift these sideways, 1 and 2. And let's go ahead, and now that we have all of these things in here, we'll bring up a K, unhide, Control A, V, yes, rehide, and we should see my extractors, which I had a production extractors here. I'm going to go ahead and turn those on now because we're dealing with we're gonna block two things, and I'll show you what that is here in a minute. Extractors, refineries, containers. Eventually we will have containers. I'm not sure. Okay, this is part of the cargo teleport system. So this is systems cargo teleport. Okay, so and then we're going to do that off on the toolbar and off on the config. So we'll keep that completely separate, but it is still part of the system. Okay, those are ultimately going to be deleted, these 4. So we have a sorter. We have the main supply sort, which basically pulls from the pull-in side backwards. Then we have the 2 conveyor sorters that we just put in. I just want to make sure those actually do belong to me. Yes, they do. All right, so here's this one. Now, this one is a blocker. Now, we're going to block 2 things. We're going to block ice because we don't want ice to come back through. There's no need. Ice, unfortunately, is an ore. So if you do these global wildcard sorts like ore, then ice is going to come through. So we need some methodology of blocking. So blacklist, remember blacklist, nothing is equivalent to everything. So there's 2 things that we want to specifically block. Gravel is one of them, and ice is the other. So I want to make sure gravel, which is an ingot, Okay, it's a processed ore, which makes it an ingot. So even though gravel, yeah, it's not an ingot, it's an ingot. And ice. So gravel, we don't want gravel to come back through. Why is that? Well, we want a certain amount of gravel because things like reactor components, for example, need gravel. There's a couple other things that actually use gravel now. So gravel and ice. Blacklist gravel ice, which means we're blocking gravel and ice, but everything else can come through. Okay, so that's what we want to do. We don't have to have drain all because this is a blocker. It's a passive device. Okay, it's just a blocker. All right. The next one here, however, is an active device. So, okay, what is this guy actually doing? So, let's go back. Well, let's do this. Or a cross connect. Okay, so what does this guy do? This is a whitelist apparatus that is pulling in ore, but only ore. Okay, so what we wanted to do is to pull in. You know what? We could. We don't actually have to put gravel up there, now that I think about it, because gravel is not ore, so this one will inherently not pull that one through. So I think we'll be all right. So that's the ice blocker, will be that other one. So this is so we can unload the ore on the supply side, on the green conveyor system, and not have it trapped there. So this is that cross-connect system, which will basically allow for the ore to come back across. All right, let's go ahead and change now that I have educated myself. Empty sorter conveyor. So this is the ice. I just can't type today. Blocker. Ice blocker. And we don't really need gravel here because gravel is not ore. The only thing coming through here will be ore. So really all we want to do is block ice because ice is an ore. So it's a passive device, so we don't need to drain all. So blacklist ice, blacklist ice, prevent ice. All right. So with these two set up, this should be drain all, just to make sure this is working. Whitelist, allow ore, and pull it all. Okay. So this is the cross connect there, which will dump into either of these two, which will pull it across. So was pretty capable. These guys just sitting out here, they will process everything, and then these guys will pull it backwards into the system. And then ultimately the ingots will be pulled into the system by this sorter here, up and in. Okay, so what we have done here is created our refining and processing. On the refining side, we have the pull-in system, which is here, and then ultimately the cross connects, which will allow all those finished products to be dumped into this upper section, which is where all the main storage actually is. The only thing we have left to do is the fuel ice system, which will actually pull out on the other side over here. So the fuel ice system is also a bidirectional system. In this case, we don't actually need it to be bidirectional. And here's why. Because We actually have these two gas generator systems are interconnected into, even though they're on the Tiger Orange conveyor system, these are actually interconnected in, let's go ahead and go down here so we can see it, on the green system. Say these are drawing from and pushing to the main supply system. So that was entirely intentional. So even though it's orange, it's actually connected onto the main supply. Now, main supply is indeed storing everything. So the question is, how do we interconnect this in equitably? And I think we can do it right here. So what I want to do, I think it's that one right there. Yes, it is. I'm going to go ahead and change this out to, rather than being an edge, it's actually going to be a 5-way. So change our colors once again to be the supply, and make sure I have this rotated the right way. It's right here, which then gives me the connection point off the side. Yep. So what do I want to do with that? We're actually going to create another sorter. We're going to, this is the interconnector ultimately with the blue. And we can put in an elbow which connects onto this, number 8, and flip this around to be the right direction. And let me find my sorter. It's upside down, so there we go, right side up. Now, what is this allowing? So this ultimately is going to, it's going to be a passive, so we can drag through, but I'm not going to pull it all through, so I do not want this to be a drain all. And we're going to add a fuel ice container, possibly 2 fuel ice containers. So what is this? The fuel ice, we'll just call that sort of fuel ice. It's passive, so I do not need to have a drain all. We are a white list. We are only going to allow 2 things through: fuel and ice. So here's ice, add uranium ingot, add, and because I want the ability to be able to pull bottles back and forth, we're going to go ahead and do hydrogen bottle and oxygen bottle. Alright, so these things allowed through. Now, because I have these are not in use anymore, I did all this another way. So, but we will allow those through. So, let's verify. So, sorter, fuel ice. We're going to allow ice and uranium ingot. Those are the main things. Excuse me. Hydrogen bottle and oxygen bottle. Why are we allowing them through? Traditionally, what I have had is all the gas generators and the vast majority of the reactors pulling from the blue. Okay, fuel ice, right? What are the 2 users of fuel and ice? Oxygen generators, or rather gas generators, and uranium in use by the reactors. So having everything on that side was appropriate. So the problem with that is that obviously the bottle fillers happen to be the gas generator. So if I don't have a methodology of getting the bottles from wherever they happen to be over to that side, then it could be a problem. So, so here we are. Now, one of the other things that we want to do is be able to ultimately, and we'll go ahead and I guess I'm going to break. Yeah, we'll go ahead and break this one here. We're going to put in, that is, so we need an edge here, and we change that back to green. And ultimately we spin this way. So we should have that one on the bottom, this one on the top, the T on the side right there, and then the actual side right there. So we're going to change colors again, back to our fuel ice. We need an elbow here. We have a sorter in the other direction that in this case we don't actually need it, but I want to be consistent in the way I'm building everything. So we have another sorter which happens to be out on number 8, and we're going to spin this over so it's facing the other direction. This also is a passive device, so drain all off. This is very, very simply bottle return. That's all this does. So in this case we are whitelisting. The only thing that we are allowing through our hydrogen bottle. Where's my hydrogen? There's hydrogen bottle. Add oxygen bottle. Add, and then the 2 here. Again, not in use anymore because I did what I needed to do in another way. But here they are. So, whitelist, just these. Just those. And it's a passive device. We're not going to drain because these guys won't move anyway. And I think that's a good feature of the game because it won't take bottles away from you and you didn't even know it took them. So that's why I think that's a good thing, having those bottles there. Okay, so this is the backward interconnector. And so this is the forward, which is basically going to take or allow rather the bottles, the ice, and the uranium ingots through. All right, then what do we want to do? The 2 sorters here, I'm going to go ahead and, because it's convenient, I'm going to bolt the containers right up to the side here because I think it works. It's a good place for them, and we still have the room to get out here if we need to. And what are these things called? Well, this is called container. I'm going to call this main fuel ice. That's actually 2. And we'll come down here to the other one, which is right there, container, and this is going to be main fuel ice 01. Okay, so these are right next to each other, but main versus there's actually a couple fuel ice. Trying to remember where another one is, and I don't actually remember where the other ones are. Might have eliminated them already. Okay, me. So that basically goes through the entire station and sets up for me, which I want to do. Alright, so we have all of our different containers. So fuel ice, we have supply, and we have the pull-in. We have our sorters as they are, and all we need to do now is interconnect this stuff inwards. So we're going to add, just for sake of using vanilla mechanism, we're going to go ahead and put a conveyor junction right here. Nope, I'm not going to do that. And here's why. Because I have a I have a port on the side and I'm going to use it. So let me go back and put in an elbow, and we're also going to put an elbow right here. We're going to put another elbow there, and another elbow here, and then a straight through there. So what have we accomplished? We have now given ourselves a methodology of fuel and ice here, as well as here. Now the downside to the fuel ice system is once you have the fuel and ice on this side, it does not pull back through. So it is a completely independent system, but now completely interconnected. So I am surprise over time, but the good news is we have pretty much completed our sorting system. So we have the methodology, just to recap here, we have the methodology of using this pull-in system. So now all of the red conveyor system does indeed have a drain all pull-in sorter, which will pull in everything. Then we have the ability to sort the finished products into these 6 containers here in the center, and we also have the ability to take finished product like ice and uranium over to the fuel ice system. So that pretty much handles all of our sorting. The only thing we have left now is, can you guess? We just have to put in our assembly system. That's all that's left. So, having said that, because I'm already over time, this is Kenty Tiger signing off. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch you next time.